Standard of Unit 3, G6, we're going to explain the proof of the Pythagorean theorem and learn how to solve using the Pythagorean theorem. Pythagorean theorem states that the square of the hypotenuse is equal to the two sum of the squares of the two other sides. So you get the formula a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Hypotenuse is the side opposite of the right angle. The longest side of a right angle is always the hypotenuse, and these are called the legs. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. Here's an example. Leg and leg are a and b, so the sum of a squared plus b squared, the sum of the legs squared, is equivalent to the hypotenuse squared. That is the theorem for a right triangle. So, your first steps into solving the Pythagorean theorem is it a right triangle? If it's not a right triangle, you cannot use the Pythagorean theorem. However, if it is a right triangle, then we keep going. You identify the lengths of the legs and the hypotenuse. Then use the formula for the Pythagorean theorem. First example. First step, write the equation, the formula rather. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. In this problem, we are looking for c. We have been given the legs, but not the hypotenuse. Plug it in. Now, it doesn't matter where the 6 and 8 go. It can be 6 squared plus 8 squared or 8 squared plus 6 squared. The commutative property, it's going to work either way. 6 squared plus 8 squared equals c squared. 36 plus 64 equals c squared. So 100 equals c squared. Now I solve for c. The opposite of squaring a number is taking the square root. What you do to one side, you do the other. So c is equivalent to 10. A guy wire that is 26 feet long is attached to the top of a pole. The wire is attached to the ground at a point that is 10 feet from the base of the pole. Determine h, the height of the pole. So here's the difference here. As you noticed, you have been given one leg and you've been given the hypotenuse, and you're looking for the other leg. To do this, just plug into the Pythagorean theorem. And solve for a. This will look similar to linear expressions from the unit before. Now solve for a. Take the square root of both sides. And I get a is equivalent to 24. So in this case, h is 24 feet. You can also find if a triangle is a right triangle by using the Pythagorean theorem. Rosa has 3 pencils, each a different length. The lengths are 18 centimeters, 15 centimeters, and 8 centimeters. Could she form a right triangle using the pencils at the sides? Okay, so what you got to think of is, what is your biggest side here? The biggest side is 18. That right there tells me if this is a true right triangle, that's the hypotenuse. So that's C. So I'm going to plug this in. 15 squared plus 8 squared equals 18 squared. Now, just like a linear expression, I'm going to solve the left side, solve the right side. 15 to the second power is 225 plus 64 equals 18 to the second power. I get 324. Combine like terms, 225 plus 64, and I get 289 equals 324. Since the sides are different, they are not equal, that is not a right triangle.